Today we're going to go over 3 combos with the freshly announced fill-up that I think are going to change your life. And maybe I'm overselling it, but once you hear the combination of the heroes plus the armaments, I think you might lose your mind like I did the other day. Because as I was studying his kit, and I was like, okay, he buffs 5 targets, that's cool. But then on his expertise, he has the chance to do that all over again. I realized there are some disgustingly powerful things that you can do. And the synergy here is pretty obvious. It's using your active skill all over again. And just to be really clear, if you're watching this video, you should know, because you're subscribed to my channel, that people will do testing as soon as these commanders drop. So this video is about the theories and how you prepare for the release of this commander, which is theoretically in the next month. But keep in mind that once the commander actually drops, wait until I test it. Like, you only gotta wait 24 to 48 hours, and I'll have 1 or more videos or streams showcasing exactly how good it will perform. So pump the brakes if you're thinking, I'm just going to max him right away and spend all my gems. Go and watch the testing, then we'll know for sure what the exact combos are. But I thought this video was important to make because I think you need to start prepping now. And you'll see why in a minute, I promise you. Let me jump in game with this in mind. Extra activations of your active skill that can trigger once every 7 seconds, and the fact that we are going to buff a bunch of nearby friendly marches. All right, let me show you. We're going to start with the 3rd best combo, and that's going to be with Ashurbanipal. And why is it that using Philip as the primary and Ashurbanipal as the secondary with full archers would be completely gangbuster? Well, not only does Philip buff his own march, and theoretically he's giving himself 20% less damage taken and 40% more damage dealt for his own march, but Ashurbanipal is going to absolutely slay that open field with that huge amount of damage. But we are not done yet, because every time you use an active skill, you're going to go and you're going to get a buff over here. So when you get extra active skill activations, whether you're getting them from Philip or you're getting them from Ashurbanipal, that is a huge amount of extra buffs. We've seen this be good in the past when in an artifact KVK, you can switch around a troop type of a commander. You pair Joan with Ashurbanipal, you're getting extra active skill activations, and that combo absolutely slaps. This will be true of this insane buffing and DPS march. And I want to address the elephant in the room, which is that I don't think you want to pair Philip, probably, with another leadership commander, okay? Typically what you want is someone who enhances damage and then someone who does big fat AoE, right? Someone who is making you live long enough to actually wreck your enemies and someone who delivers that punch. That tends to be the magic combo in this game, all right? And, you know, in a perfect world, you just have everybody doing everything, but then commanders will be really boring. So we can't make every commander Nevsky. And even Nevsky only does single target damage. The point I'm trying to make is that I think you want Philip to be the primary, Ashurbanipal the secondary. Could it work the other way around if you don't have the leadership gear? I think it could, but I don't think it would be quite as good, okay? And a part of the reason is you want Philip to get his buffs going and buff your entire team, ideally before they're doing some of their active skills. So if you're certainly going to use Philip as a secondary, you're going to want some rage generators on there, ideally maybe a horn, and also potentially war drums to accelerate this march as much as you possibly can. All right. Now from here, we go to the 2nd best combo. This is the combo I probably end up using because of the way that my equipment is set up. And that 2nd best combo is, in my opinion, going to be Philip with the new Ragnar Prime. I mean, look, following my own guidance, money where my mouth is, okay? Money exactly where my mouth is. I just finished saying that you want to have somebody who enables damage with someone who does damage. And who does more damage than Ragnar Prime? Am I wrong? 2,200 damage. Let's look at the expertise here. Okay. Plus 300 per second for 2 seconds for each target you hit. Yeah, let's have this skill go all over again. Or even if it doesn't, Philip is buffing this damage by 40%. Because remember, it's 20% for other marches you buff, but it's double that for your own march. So a 40% damage boost, and then smack them with this. Plus, If you use only one troop type, you just get 30% more damage. So we're talking about 70% more damage on this. Gross. Okay, it's just, I think, going to be a powerful combo. Do I think it's actually very synergistic? I would say no. It's just good old-fashioned big buff plus big damage, go smash. That's it. It's not nearly as elegant as the Ashurbanipal combo, okay? But the damage here, I think, has just higher potential than Ashurbanipal. Not that Ashurbanipal's damage is bad, but this damage is busted, right? It's the new hotness, and that new hotness is really gross. Okay, it is just really gross. Plus, this dude's a little bit of a vampire, right? Like stealing attack. So I think this could be pretty cool. Is it possible that the Ashurbanipal combo is better than the Ragnar combo? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. What equipment do you use? Obviously, if you've been a long time Trajan enjoyer, I finally get to say you get rewarded, which is what good game design should do. It sends you in a direction and then rewards you for being in that direction. But for ages, the game design indicated that, hey, make some stuff for Trajan. So if you've got the infantry-based stuff, good for you. If you've got the leadership stuff, in my opinion, that's even better for your ability to do other things. And I think there's other things that are better than the Ragnar pairing. Okay. So this might technically be slightly better in the field, but I would take the versatility of that leadership stuff any day of the week. All right. And that is because the number one combo is going to require you, in my opinion, to do some really cool stuff with the formation system. And this is the thing that's going to blow your mind. So if you made it this far into the video, consider smashing subscribe. You've made it to the part where your brain potentially explodes. And I apologize to the person who's going to have to go clean that up, because here is how Philip is going to completely break the game, in my opinion. Just my opinion. But you're going to take Philip, and you're going to use a pair that I recommended in another video. So this shouldn't be a surprise to you, but you're going to pair with Shajar. You're probably thinking, like, Chisgule, you talked about this in the other video. What new information are you bringing here? And here is what I want to highlight to you. When Shajar uses an active skill, you are going to heal your troop and I think 2 others that are nearby. So 3 total troops get healed. You mighty heal, all right? But when this hero is expertised, and by the way, you can do that every 3 seconds. When this hero is expertised, you're giving those troops 10% defense and 20% more normal damage. And this is where things start to get insane. Because I think, but I don't know, and we're going to have to test, but I think you can do some really busted stuff with formations. Let me explain. If we go and we get a look here, okay, at Trajan, who I can drop into Echelon, okay? Echelon is where things get really spicy. And trust me, this is tip of the iceberg. We'll get there. When this user's troop grants percentage-based buffs to other troops, their effects are multiplied by 1.2 with a maximum increase of 5% of their original value. Okay? So what I think that means is that when you buff 10% damage taken reduction to your friends, now it will be 12%. Instead of 20% damage dealt to your friends, okay, it would be 24%. And also, I think Shajar's buff qualifies. So now it's not 10% defense, it's 12% defense. And it's not just 20% normal attack. I think it will be 24% normal attack. But either way, we're not done yet. Because the other thing that is almost, and in fact is almost certainly more important than this, is if you really go off the deep end with the inscriptions. Because what I think you really want to do is to get this right over here. Nope. Over here. Civilized. Whenever the wielder buffs a friendly target other than themselves, the target immediately gains 25 rage. Each target can trigger this effect only once per turn. So let's just talk about that for a second, okay? And maybe there's a little bit of anti-synergy with the Shajar timing, maybe. And when Shajar does her buffs. But like, if you can get Shajar buffing 25 rage from her buff, and you can get Philip buffing from his active skill, and on top of that, you can add in other things that buff nearby friendly troops, like let's say you add in How about war drums? War drums buff nearby troops, right? And then that would give rage. Would that qualify? Or do you need the accessory that gives 15% attack to nearby allied troops? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Which of these will trigger civilized? I don't know, but it's going to be worth finding out. All right. Will war drums trigger it? Maybe not. Maybe that doesn't count as a buff. This probably counts as a buff. And sure, the attack boost is not insane, but if it becomes an attack boost plus 25 rage, I mean, then you've turned this into mini war drums too, right? Like the more ways you get to do this, the more busted it could potentially become. And by the way, if you're really moving all in, which is kind of what I'm proposing, okay, on top of that, the thing you would go and do, we get a look at this formation. Actually, technically, we just go to the codex. It's this guy right over here. How does this work? If I buff these nearby 3 troops with attack, do all of them then get 25 rage? Because I think that you can make this insane rage machine. And I think pairing with the Shajar is going to be really cool in that regard. And I'm not totally sure. I'm just guessing on how all that works because we're going to have to see all the interactions. It's entirely possible that the timing of Shajar's buffing overlaps in just too much with the timing of the fill-up buffs. And like, you can only trigger this once per turn. But this feels pretty powerful as a combo to me, right? Like, to me, it feels like Philip was designed specifically to make echelon formation rewarding again. Because he uses active skills all over again, and there's a 40% chance it's his active skill, which does the buff, which in turn would grant rage, which seems so busted for the open field. Like, maybe I'm the only one who feels this way, but the amount of rage per second that you could be dishing out to your team feels absolutely incredible to me. So even if you were using Philip as the secondary, right, that might even be in some ways better for the distribution of this buff if you could swing it. Now, a lot of people will look at this and go, like, bro, I'm never going to get this. And in my perfect world, okay, the design of the systems here will be a lot more like the pets in Call of Dragons. And, you know, if you've been subscribed to my Call of Dragons content or you've been following my Call of Dragons content, you know I really like the pet system, which is basically armaments. It's the exact same thing, but it's dressed up differently. And also, not only is it dressed up differently, but you can work on everything much more incrementally. I would love if you could have gotten this and all it did was 5 rage to start. And once you got it to its final form after upgrading it, it did 25 rage. That, to me, would make the whole formation system way more compelling. But that's not how the formation system works. It's a pipe dream that it'll ever change in that way, okay? But the point I'm trying to make here is that I think you can do some really, really cool stuff with Philip and the echelon formation and any other commander that's doing lots of buffing. Now, what other commanders are doing lots of buffing? Well, here's a doozy for you. I don't know if this is really a thing, but here's a combo. What about Philip pair with William? You think, well, bro, Williams, come on. You retire that guy already. But if you used echelon formation, I'm just saying, here's a 20% defense buff if you hit multiple targets with his AoE. Which, if you had echelon formation, would then also grant the 25 rage. Maybe this belongs in the top 3 combos, to be perfectly honest. That seems good. That might be better than the Ragnar, except I don't know. I don't know. Bonus combo. This is why you watch the video all the way to the end. Doesn't that seem insane to you? Because it seems insane to me. It seems absolutely insane. And it's 5 targets. So all 5 targets, I mean, I guess it's your march and 4 others. So all 4 other marches are getting instant rage, right? On top of the rage per second buff you get on subsequent turns, right? I mean, I will have to see how the timing of the civilized inscription works with this, but woohoo! I'm telling you, I think this is very intentionally pushing us to echelon formation. I really think that that's the case. And I also think that it's not a coincidence, because I think really that was what Trajan was trying to do too. So this brings the question up of, well, Chisgule, what about Trajan paired with Philip? Why not, bro? And I think that this moves too much in the direction of sort of being a pure buff march. And you know, in the past, there were people who were like, oh, use Trajan with Honda. That was just a marching hospital bill, bro. And even Trajan with Skippy Prime, which is what I've used, that actually, you know, Skippy Prime brings a lot of punch. Even that is in a lot of ways kind of a marching hospital bill. So like, maybe it's the possibility of Philip plus Trajan plus Echelon. You could make it work. I can't wait to test it, but I think it's very unlikely. And the reason that I think it's unlikely is that you're setting up this 40% damage boost for your own march and then doing nothing with it. And I think that's a miss, right? I think that's a big miss. You're getting 30% more damage by having mono troop. You'd lose that if you did this. for what? March speed? Nah. I don't think so. I don't think that's worth. In what world would you trade the all damage for the march speed? I don't think that's it. So if that's the case, right? Like even with Echelon, I don't know. But maybe that the amount of rage is just so nuts that it works. And if it works, I actually think that would be really legit. So we could give this a mark as a combo to watch, but I don't think this is like the kind of pop off that we're looking for. I think it's more with the commanders that AoE buff. And it's funny because I went into this video thinking, trust me, Shajar is going to pop off. And I'm thinking more and more actually that it could be more like the William is the real secret combo. Even I'm holding on to something right now, even though I'm like about to fight, in the chance that this stuff ends up being so important, where like, you know, I've got 9. I can't believe I'm up to 9 of these things. So I'm holding on for now, and I'm very tempted to go in on this right over here. I'm feeling like this could be absolutely cracked with the right combo. I feel more and more like, oh, that William just looks. Can you imagine what a cool leadership march that would be? Oof, wish I had the leadership gear. Oh, what a rip. Oh, Ragnar is going to be good though. Will it be, you know, just the wedge stuff that I use for that? Who knows? Who knows? But I think that Philip's going to be really a big deal. Okay. Now, if you are a player who only uses 5 or fewer marches, then I think you are less interested. Okay. 5 marches, you could be interested. But for, you know, players that have like 7 marches, you're more interested in Philip. Why is that? Well, it's just like with Trajan, right? Where I say these days, it's like maybe your 7th march. And the reason is that you're going to prioritize buffing your own marches. As nice as it is for you to buff everybody else but not get any of the credit, okay? Kingdom's going to kick you out probably if you don't get enough kill points for yourself. So unless you've got some special arrangement where they understand you're running around buffing everybody but not doing any damage, for the most part, you want these buffs to be landing on your own marches, which they do by default. And only if there aren't enough of your own marches nearby will they buff other people's. But the reason why you'd want to have more than 5 is that as your marches die off, he's still doing something relevant. And this is known from 5v5 duels, right? Where Trajan just doesn't do as well. And it's because as soon as you kill off the marches that Trajan was buffing, Trajan is obviously doing less for you, right? So it's known that that works with Trajan. I think Philip will be the same way for pretty obvious reasons. But subscribe, because I'll test it. And when I find out, I'll let you know. I'll probably stream it. You'll know right away. Oh, man. And if you want to see my Ragnar testing, I've card in the end screen over here. I mean, I guess we can answer one sort of final question. You know, should you invest in Ragnar Prime or Philip? And I think that it all depends on what you need for your roster. Do you need another infantry commander? Well, Ragnar looks really good. I question how long the wedge formation skill damage is going to be relevant, but maybe it'll continue to be relevant, even though we keep getting, you know, these normal attack smite damage commanders. And if you already have the leadership gear, I think that Philip's going to be really cracked, obviously. Spent the last 20 minutes talking about it. If he's the secondary, I would question that. And that's where you wait to see the testing to say, okay, even if he's the secondary and I use him with my existing mono troop equipment, is he still good? And if the answer is yes there, then you're in a really good spot. I mean, geez, even on top of Ragnar, like, the Liu Che pairing could be really good. The only thing I'll say about that is, like, don't you have enough other stuff to do with Liu Che? I think the answer is yes, right? Like your Alex or your William. Like, there's so many other good things to do with that. Whereas the Ragnar, I mean, you could pair it with Guan. You could definitely pair it with Skippy. But, you know, I think the game plan for infantry feels pretty clear to me at this point. It's going to be a Philip march, probably with Ragnar, Guan with Skippy, because that combo is eternal. And then, like, you know, William with Liu Che. GG easy, right? But now I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about that in an investment video coming up. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if, again, you want to see that Ragnar testing, cards will be here and here. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.